Good morning and welcome back. We have another very special guest this week. It's not a drag queen. Instead, it is the one and only, the fabulous judge of RuPaul's Drag Race Down Under. It's Mr. Rhys Nicholson. G'day, g'day.
Hello, how are you?
Fantastic. All the more fantastic for having watched this season. We're 3 episodes in this season and they're fucking killing it. How are you
Yeah.
feeling about it?
Imagine if I was like, no, it's not for me this year. No, it is like, and it sounds like such a pre-rehearsed line, but it's like, I think this is absolutely like our strongest cast. And like not, we've been talking about it in the last few days about how like it's not that we haven't had some incredibly strong queens and the queens that are the same strength, but there's something about the concentration this year of like everyone is like they're all like, they're all slamming their pussies into the floor. And like, and all of them are assassins, all of them. I don't know. It's just, there's something, the chemistry of this year really like has something. And I think, you know, I think we were all not, I wouldn't say worried, but like, this is the first year without Rue, and you think like, what's gonna happen? And I mean, I've often thought before, to be like honest, like if you're watching Drag Race only for RuPaul, you're watching it for the wrong reason. Like I think it's about the girls and it's about the cast and like it's about them like in the competition. And I think just like Michelle has really like blown everyone away. Like my short kind of perusal through the comments has proved that like, people are always going to complain about the fucking lighting, but something that they're not worried about is Michelle.
It's so right on so many different points there. If I hear one more fucking comment about the size of the stage or the lighting, I will just blow up my fucking computer.
It's like, what a thrill to find out there's so many professional TV producers that are also 15-year-old girls on Reddit.
I know, it's an amazing talent they have, and I
It's the
just
thing that I say every year, and it's like, and I mean it more and more every year. We make this for you and not in spite of you. Like there's this feeling of like, well, they still don't do this and they don't do it. It's like, like we make this to have like a good time, right? Like, and I'm sorry, it's not exact. Like, good. Go and make your own competition reality show, like juggernaut of a TV show, and then come back to me.
absolutely. And I think there's almost a feeling from fans this year that they were on side for once. I think
Yeah.
the last few seasons it's kind of felt like they're not, but this season I feel like everyone actually wanted it to succeed and actually wanted to do well with Michelle there.
Well, and I also think like what's really helped is like all the girls are experienced and but also haven't come with like baggage. Like they haven't come with like, oh, I knew this queen from this thing, and why isn't she performing exactly the way that I wanted her to perform? Like we're kind of learning, we're meeting a lot of these girls kind of fresh. And also they all, I was just talking to someone about this, but like it feels like a season where they're all getting on and they're working as a unit. Like, we all love drama and there's drama. There's going to be drama. Don't worry about it. But some seasons on other franchises you watch as well, feels like there's a kind of toxicity to it. And there's none of that this year. Like the queens are like looking after each other and they want to make a good show.
Absolutely. And like you said it before, like chemistry is the absolute key to this cast, I think. And both on screen and also afterwards as well. It's really, really evident when you look at how they're
Yeah.
interacting, the unity they've come together, putting all their merch together and stuff, all of that
Yeah.
clever fucking marketing they've done to like Bob the Drag Queen and stuff. All of that is really, really indicative of a group of girls that really got along on that show.
Oh yeah, it almost seems like Lazy Susan went to like uni for communications or something like she's such like a busy she's a busy bottom.
Absolutely. And like it's doing well for them. I think that international attention that they've garnered has been great. Um, Now, speaking of attention, obviously, we mentioned Michelle. And you're right that there was like I was watching just even the very first episode, and I sort of said to my husband halfway through, it was like it almost just feels like, oh, Rue hasn't spoken in a while. Oh, that's right. Oh, he's not there.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
there was just that seamless integration with you all where nobody came in and went, okay, cool. We've got to make this fantastic new thing because there's no RuPaul. It was just everyone's just here. We're just doing the same thing and doing it well. Was that kind of the attitude you went in with?
I think so. Like, and she would, and I don't think she'd mind me saying this, like, because it proves of how seriously she takes it. She was like nervous. Like, there were times that we'd be on set and she'd like cover of her mic and be like, is this good, right? And I'd always be like, yeah, it's really fucking good. Like people are gonna eat this up. But like I think she felt maybe not pressure, but definitely felt a level of knowing that there is some big old shoes she's got to fill. And I think she like filled them and then like stomped around in them.
She did. But also, as the Quincyval said to me as well, that really mothering attitude. She really
Yeah.
went there and just supported them. But in the same hand, she'll slap them and hug them at the same time. She didn't sort of take the harsh
Well,
critiques off either.
no, and but I also think she's kind of her job as when she was like, head ju like, sitting next to Rue, there almost has to be she kind of has to be the harsher judge, like because Rue is there to, the host of a show is kind of there to steady the boat and to like give the final thoughts and that kind of thing, and like everything is kind of. Whereas I think the job that she's got now has given her an opportunity to be more mothering, which I would say, like having worked with her for 4 years now, is like her default setting. Like when our dressing rooms are next to each other, although I will say that not anymore. She's in the big dressing room now. Um, the when she's getting her face done, she's talking to her kids like on the phone and like I don't know, she's just everything she's doing is for her family. And so that like comes out in the show, I think. Like, like we saw the last episode was like, Max telling us that her mother had passed away. Michelle knows exactly what that feels like and was able to kind of like comfort her in a very kind of real way. And that was like, you don't see all of what happened that day, but like we were like crying on like, things that Michelle was able to say in that moment were like very, important.
Yeah, and it's very indicative of that nature that she has. Because yeah,
Yeah.
and, was said to her when I spoke to her, like, we've just watched you be a mother. We've heard about your kids every season for the last feels like 30 years watching Drag Race.
Yeah.
And now they're all grown up, and we keep thinking in our heads they're little kids.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, she has really done a stellar job, and the whole show has done well. When it comes to the judging panel, for you, does it feel like your role kind of got a little bigger? I feel like you've got a little bit more airtime and you've got a little bit more presence, and I feel like you have stepped forward a little bit more in your critiques. Is that just something
A
that's
little
evolved?
bit. I mean, maybe they're just keeping more in. I think I definitely, because I'm the one constant, like it's just me and Michelle as the constants now. Like, and then the kind of rotating of the queens. The I think I still feel like my job is exactly the same in that I'm not there to critique looks, or unless something is so glaring. Like, I'm not a I wear nice clothes and I like being dressed up and stuff, and I think I have like pretty decent like sense of style. But I also have a stylist, to be honest, and also like I'm not a drag queen, and it's not my. I would never want to stand there going like your lip isn't right because who the fuck am I? But I have been a performer for a long time and I am like a media professional, and that's what my job is there is to be funny and decide whether someone's like I've said this before, but like I'm like a conduit for the audience. Like I'm there to experience what's happening in the room and almost be like a canary down the mine of like, like for example, like an example I can use from a few years ago was they kept cutting to me during Minnie Cooper's lip sync because I was reacting, and let's be honest, I'm probably one of the few people on the panel that can move my face fully. But I'm like reacting in a way that is how I think an audience member would react if they were in the same room as them. That's what I always want to be doing. Like it's never lost on me that I get to watch Lip Sync for Your Lives. Like that. That as someone who's been a fan of the show, I used to have a podcast about Drag Race that I quietly took down when I got the job. The you can't find it anywhere. I've gotten rid of it. It I'm such a fan of the show, and I'm so excited that I get to still be there after 4 years still. Like every year when they announce like a new season, I'm always like, and old Reese will be back, right? Your old pal. So yeah, so I like my role hasn't to answer the question, my role hasn't really changed, but I do feel like I have maybe a little bit more, not even airtime, but just kind of like I'm involved in the conversations a little bit more these days, I think. like there's almost just through being on the show of this franchise from the beginning, I think I'm allowed to have a little bit of context.
Yeah, cool. Um, and it's obviously serving you quite well. And one of the things you were involved in this week was Snatch Game, or
Yes.
I'm a celebrity impersonator, snatch me out of here, which is a
Yeah.
cute little tweak on the concept.
Yeah.
How do you feel about them switching it into two halves? That was an interesting choice.
Yeah, I mean, I think, that's even like on a production. Like sometimes I think, and this happens with all TV shows, like, you can be on fucking Survivor or something and be like, why are they doing that? It's like it was a production decision on the day or something like that. I think like Drag Race fans are also particularly, bless them, like always looking for like a conspiracy of like why that might be. Like, and it's like, the one time that Rue is not there, they're probably trying to argue that Rue is. The like yeah, ironically, this is the first season Rue has been in the studio. She's operating camera too. I do think that was just like a production choice of trying to squeeze all the queens into one thing, like, and that just kind of has to happen sometimes. Like, I think it is definitely I think it gives each, having been in both of those records, it gives queens a little bit more time, like that they're, if you're trying to squeeze that amount of queens onto one snatch game, it's going to be fucking chaos. And I think we have seen chaotic ones in the past. And particularly when, if you get like when you're watching seasons, say like All Stars, these are queens that have also started to be in the media and like are understanding what it is to be in a TV studio and stuff. When like, and this isn't shade, but like just sometimes when the stories have come out about like how queens were treated on sets and that kind of stuff, sometimes it's a little bit like, oh, I think you are on a set for the first time, like if that makes sense. And so I think people just don't understand how TV shows are made, and sometimes you just have to do that to make it seem less chaotic. I don't know. I don't know if that answered your question, but it didn't feel strange on the day.
That's good. Yeah, it was an interesting choice, but I think you're right about the chaos. Like, particularly, there's some fucking big personalities.
Yeah,
And if you had all nine of them in that room, I think you could have just like absolutely smothered some of the quieter ones.
yeah, totally. And I do think we broke the curse. I think the curse is over. Like, I also like, I think I've said this to you before as well. Like, it's Snatch Game is a funny thing for Down Under Drag because we don't do impersonation in the same way. And so celebrity impersonation isn't in our blood in the way that it is in, say, American drag or even English drag. And I think we finally like had at least we had a decent Snatch Game. Good for us.
Yes, it was. It was really good. And they definitely, if there was a curse other than people being cunts, then it has been broken.
Yeah.
Now, little ditty that I had with Michelle was we were talking about that one thing that she did change that I picked up on the very first episode was Bring Back the Queens, we've made our decision. And so she said that you are all
Huh.
actually in on making the decision.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
how does that feel for you to suddenly actually be like, oh, here's my vote?
I think it's like, I mean, look, I think we've all been a part of it. Like there have been times over the years where there are times that you have no say. Like that's just the role of a judge in a competition reality show. Like you have a say, but you know that you haven't convinced them. Like my job in deliberations is to, if I feel strongly about something, and I can like, I won't name what they were, but there's been probably 3 or 4 times in the history of the season that I feel like I've been able to say something that has changed the trajectory. Um, and like this year, I do think, yeah, and I think part of it was just Michelle wanting to be a little bit more open about the process and maybe like, because the thing to me that always fascinates me is that people are always like, God in the machine and like the producers did this and the producers did that. It is never the thing. The people that are always like, that was produced and that was like, it's never that thing. Like in all competition reality shows, like when it would be like, actually, I would have thought like that person would have gone home from that lip sync. None of that is like trickery or like rigging, like rigor mortis. Like there's none of that. It's like the things that are produced are like, you know, talk about this thing. Like, in the workroom, like, does anyone not have a great relationship with their dad? Let's talk about it. They're the produced things. And so I do think it has felt nice to have a little bit more say, but it's not like it's wildly different from when it was. Like I think almost Rue used to say that is my reading of it. Rue used to say that so people didn't go after the other judges. Like it kind of, you know what I mean? Like it kind
Yeah,
of Rue said for that line of like, and the decision is mine alone to make. Sometimes I think that's so like if
protected.
people don't agree with the decision, it kind of goes back on her. I don't know.
Yeah, fair, fair. I noticed there was no. My favorite thing on Canada's Drag Race is where they seem to do it by osmosis. They do the made
Yeah,
that
yeah.
decision. Um, does that when they finish the lip sync, do they walk away and come back so you make that decision, or that decision's kind of made by you guys like doing something behind the panel while they're still standing on the stage?
The way that we used to do it with Rue is the Rue would have a fan up and we would and she would talk to like the people in the control room of how they think it went. Because also, the people in the control room are seeing it from all angles.
Yeah.
And like we're seeing. And then we could I would like write, we have a list of queens in front of us, and I would like kind of circle or put a line next to people that, and like we kind of have this weird, like, kind of, we may as well be like typing it out in Braille or something, like just kind of trying to do it without anyone knowing what's going on. Because it is like they are sitting right there. And it's really, and then I just, after I know what's going on, like Michelle would like, yeah, circle the name and like show it. And we'd be like, yeah. Then I just look nowhere because I know that in that moment, in moments before they are about to be told they're going home or they've won, I like just have to look anywhere. Like I'll look at one of the queens standing, I'll look at one of the safe queens standing at the back because otherwise I'm just gonna like accidentally make eyes at someone and be like, oh, I'm so sorry. Um, but yeah, it's like we just try and communicate without hurting anyone's feelings or making them feel like they're just part of a process. Because this is like it's a big moment in someone's life. Like and I think it's easy to forget that. Like, we're at work, but they're and we're at work that we love doing and we understand the gravity of it. But sometimes, when it's Tuesday and you're like talking to like your boss about what you had for dinner last night, and there's Queen standing there, like having the biggest moment of their lives so far. And it's kind of hard not to like I try my hardest to just not take it for granted. Like I'm
You're about to deliver some of the most traumatic news of their career.
Yeah, and I'm like, and anyway, and then afterwards, I think I'll go to the bar. Like, oh, I've got a gig tomorrow night, or like, are you guys watching blah blah blah? Um, Michelle loves Chemist Warehouse, so we talk a lot about Chemist Warehouse.
I love it. I love it. We've got to wrap up in a sec, but
Yeah.
I wanted to check, it's hard to say who was your favorite or anything like that. So more to the point, I said, let's go week one. And forgiving, Lazy Susan for absolutely fucking murdering the runway.
Yeah.
Was there anybody else, or you can say Susan if you like, that just made the biggest impact on week one where you just went, fuck, I'm impressed?
I mean, Lazy is like a fucking like and again, I say all of this with if we're basing it only on episode one, like Lazy's got that thing. She's also someone vibe is kind of similar where they've been cooking out there for a while. Like I was only aware of like Lazy because I live in Melbourne as well. And like I remember going to Melbourne, like it's not drag con, but like our equivalent. And like she had her stall was so funny. And she had like this whole setup where she was dressed as like a kind of Godzilla monster. And you stand in front of an iPhone that has like a little city built in front of it. And so it looks like you're destroying a city. And like, so that's how her brain works. It wasn't just like, I've made some pins. And like, so much of like drag cons are kind of like, come and get a photo with me and it's $20. She was like, I want to create an experience. And I think that's what she creates on runways and what she creates. Like, even her social media post is like doing the smart queens. Art is a good example. Like Simone, like is the queens that use this show as a launching point. It is not Like, and then after this, you can charge more for hen's parties. It's like, no, squeeze the life out of this stone. Like, this doesn't, even if you go in the first couple of weeks, this doesn't need to be the end. Like, make something out of it. I think like Ivory Glaze is a really funny example of someone who made like, she was making like her merch were like cum towels. And like she spends a lot of time like making jokes on stage about the fact that she fainted. And like, like, I think it's you've got to use this experience as like exposure. You're doing press. This
Yeah.
is not the making of your career.
Yeah. They have between 1 and 8 hours screen time
Yeah.
max.
Do something with it.
Yes, exactly. And yeah, some of them do. And then the smart ones, yeah, they absolutely maximize it. And you're right. Art has just fucking rubbed that.
Yeah.
Yes. Amazing, amazing. Well, I'm gonna have to let you go, but it has been an absolute pleasure. Any, I was gonna ask if there's any challenge in particular you're looking forward to, um, in the season that
I mean, what
stands
have
out.
we done? We've done group. We've done that thing where they all kind of blend into like I I have
The sewing challenge is coming up next, which I can't wait to see because we know that Mandy.
actually that's true. Yeah, design challenges because these queens are like sewers. Like
Yeah,
Mandy, like fucking Mandy. Like
yeah,
they cut out so much of my reactions to some of their looks sometimes where because I'm like I say, consuming it like an audience member. I'm not kind of like, whereas Michelle and like the Queens are able, Isis and like is able to kind of she's a sewer, so she's able to kind of go, I know what you've done there, blah, blah, blah. To me, it is like watching someone do a magic trick every night. And so when she was like, I made this, I was like, I was almost like angry about it. I was like, you shut the fuck up. How dare you? How dare, and because also, like she made that like, I think it was like PVC. So like it's a really hard fabric. I did textiles in high school, but I haven't like and I wanted to be a designer for a while, like and like had applied for design schools and stuff. And it didn't work out. Um, but I know how tough fabrics like that are to work with. And yeah, she's incredible.
I can barely operate a fucking sewing machine. I don't know
No,
how she
exactly.
does that. But yeah, I just can't wait to see what the look she turns out. Because yeah, like I know Moobs because I'm a Brisbane boy. I've been seeing her for years. And fuck,
Yeah. And also, my every year my favorite challenges are the makeup challenge, the makeover challenge. Like I think because there's always like a fun. And there's always like just seeing people. I think it's also good for the girls to like see someone different, like for a moment, like to get to interact with someone that isn't production staff or a drag queen. But there's always like a nice vibe on set when they're doing the makeover challenges.
yeah. Speaking of which, have you seen the latest UK episode of the Makeover Challenge yet?
I'm a little bit behind. I always like because also when we're like doing press for Drag Race or when we're filming Drag Race, I don't watch much other Drag Race because I'm worried that I'm gonna like get confused because I have a bad brain. But no, I've got my Wow Presents Plus uh, account, which I pay for, by the way. Let me make that clear. Um, the that I need to like I've got a bit. I've been working pretty solidly almost every day for 3.5, almost 4 months, and I've got a couple of weeks off, and I'm going to sit and watch some Drag Race, I think.
Yeah, well, Drag Race UK fucking kicked it out of the
Oh,
park
yeah.
this year.
My algorithm tells me so, but I just need to sit and watch it.
All right. Very quickly, is there anything else we can watch out for you outside of Drag Race? Because like you've got a career where you don't just do Drag Race. What else have we
Yeah.
got to
I
see?
mean, I'm on Taskmaster right now. I was just on an episode of Fisk. I'll be back doing the weekly next year. I'm gonna be on the yearly. These are all things for other networks. I'll be at the Arias. I'm backstage at the Arias. There we go. I found one that's on the same network. Um, yeah, I'm doing the red carpet, and then I'll be backstage at the Arias with Bridget Hustwaite again.
Very
So that'll
nice.
be
And still doing appearances at your comedy bar in Melbourne?
yes. Yeah, well, I've been overseas for literally 4 months, and so I get home on Thursday morning, and I'd imagine I probably won't do stand up for a couple of weeks because too much stand up in my life. But yeah, I'm always there. I'm usually there, like drunk at like 8 p.m. if I've got the night off. So come and see me at Comedy Republic in Melbourne.
Beautiful. Comedy Republic in Melbourne with Rhys Nicholson. Wonderful.
Great.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining me. It has been an absolute pleasure. And next time I'll be chatting to another one of our queens. Thank you very much, Rhys.
Thanks, Michael. Bye.
Bye.